I saw this clip, and y'all, I find it to be utterly laughable. So this is that idiot Scott Jennings on CNN, and I want you to hear when the issue of poverty comes up. I want you to really pay attention.
That this is in place. Household income for the bottom 10% will go down 2%, and it'll go up 4% for the top 10%. And by 2033, it'll be down 4%, up 2% for the top 10%. So in essence, the poorest people are going to have less income. The richest people are going to have more income. That's according to the Congressional Budget Office.
Well, they suck. They get things wrong all the time. In 2017, when we passed the tax cuts, they totally missed the growth targets. They totally missed what was going to happen to federal revenue. They're not oracles. They can't foretell the future down to the exact science. Our Republican view is if we lower taxes, we'll have economic growth, and it helps everybody.
But this isn't rocket science, because the poor people are losing benefits, Medicaid, and SNAP. Excuse me?
You said the poor people. What do you mean?
The people in the bottom.
The illegal immigrants, the people who won't get up off the couch and go to work. Which people?
Okay, so let me explain. Let me explain. The requirements for Medicaid, and we had this conversation last night, but here are the real details. There are already requirements for people on Medicaid to work. This changes those requirements, so it increases them. So some people will have to requalify. They won't be able to do that, and they won't have coverage. There are changes to the out-of-pocket costs for people who are on this program, so they might have to pay money in order to get access health care. It changes how the federal government reimburses the state if they provide coverage for undocumented immigrants. So there are some real changes to people who are eligible for the program now who will not be eligible for the program in the future.
I just really have to.
Okay. So he said, who are these poor people? Well, that's interesting. This Scott Jennings would say, who are these poor people? Y'all do know that Scott Jennings is considering a run for the United States Senate from Kentucky, right? Scott Jennings is a native of Kentucky, right? Are y'all aware that Scott Jennings was born in Dawson Springs, Kentucky? Antoine, go to my iPad. This is what I just pulled up. In Dawson Springs, Kentucky, the poverty rate is 26.9%. This is significantly higher than the national average of 12.4%. In fact, the Kentucky poverty rate is 16.1%. So, Scott, when you say, who are these poor people, it's your broke ass people. It's the broke-ass white folks in your state. Kentucky is one of the brokest, poorest, most illiterate states in the union. Awful education, awful health care, high poverty. See, y'all, this is what these white conservatives do. Who are you talking about? Are you talking about the illegal immigrants? No. They talking about your cousins, Scott. Your family members. See, I know you just signed your big new CNN contract and you think you the shit, and the New York Times has done a story on you and all these folks. But Scott Jennings, you clearly forgot where you came from. Scott Jennings, you come from a broke-ass town. I ain't even gonna call it a city. Because y'all not a city. You're a town. And see, this is what happens when these white conservatives get them a nice highfalutin job, got you a nice little suit, and you sit your little arrogant, smug ass on CNN, sipping on your coffee, and you think you the man, and your state is going to get screwed. See, I remember in 2016, I never forget, I was sitting here reading the article, and these folk, these broke, illiterate ass folk in Kentucky, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know. We voted for Trump, and I sure hope Trump do something about that Obamacare, but I'm worried about my Affordable Care Act. Them clueless ass folks didn't even realize that they were voting against their own interests. See, y'all, this is what trips me out. I get a kick out of when I do these shows with these white conservatives. Like Patrick Bet-David, hell, he ain't even no white conservative. His ass came from Iran or Armenia, one of them damn countries, and he gonna try to tell me why I move back to the neighborhood. Why don't you move your ass back to your country? You ain't from here. So, they love talking about y'all black folks. Y'all keep voting Democrat. And what have y'all gotten for it? Then they run these handkerchief heads out here like Candace Owens and Brandon Tatum. And they all come out here. Y'all ain't got nothing. Then you got that crazy ass fool out of Chicago, the fitness woman. Oh, this is what the Democrats, and what have y'all got? And what have y'all got? All right, y'all notice. They don't never ask white folks that question. The national media, they don't never ask white people in Mississippi and Alabama and Arkansas and Georgia and North Carolina and South Carolina and Tennessee and West Virginia and Kentucky and on and on. They never ask them, why do y'all broke, illiterate, uninsured white people, why do y'all keep voting against your own interest? What has the Republican Party given you? I know what they gave y'all is what Howard Dean said in 2004. God gave guns. Y'all love y'all guns. Y'all hate the gays. And y'all so-called love you some God. Except when it comes to feeding the poor, clothing the naked, and providing shelter to the homeless. See, I get a kick out of seeing these folk in West Virginia. I get a kick out of seeing the folk in my home state of Texas talking about how they love them some Donald Trump, and they wearing their MAGA hats proudly, and they flying their Trump flag, and oh my God, Trump gonna change this country, and your broke ass about to lose your Medicaid. They've talked about how many hospitals are going to be impacted. Some 72 to 100 rural hospitals are not going to be able to pay their bills, but y'all thought y'all were doing something to the blacks. Oh, y'all thought y'all were doing something to them illegal immigrants. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We going to go after them. Oh, yeah. We about to sit here, and we about to give so much money to the military that their budget is about to hit $1 trillion, and we never spent $1 trillion in American history on the budget, but oh, here it comes. But all y'all broke-ass people in Dawson Springs, Kentucky, the home of Scott Jennings. Let's talk about them food banks not getting food. Let's talk about when your cough turns into bronchitis, and your bronchitis turns into pneumonia. And then you're going to look up and they're trying to gut the Affordable Care Act. They're trying to gut Medicaid. Your hospital's going to shut down. Then what you going to do? I know what you're going to do in Dawson Springs, Kentucky. You're going to go home and you're going to wrap yourself in your Trump flag and you're going to try to figure out how to warm up. But guess what? Ain't no lining in it. It ain't fleece. It ain't going to help you. See, I can't wait. I would love to hear I would love to have Scott Jennings go back home. Matter of fact, CNN, why don't y'all send Scott Jennings on one of them silly little ass interview tours? You know, y'all love sending Van Jones out. Why don't y'all send Scott Jennings back to Dawson Springs? Why don't say, oh, hometown boy done gone national? Oh, we get to look up on TV and we get to look at our life, little Scott Jennings. It's right here from Dawson. I bet they got a sign, Dawson Springs, Kentucky, home of CNN Scott Jennings. And then you get to go ahead, he get to come back. Let's have Scott tell them what happened to the program that helped folk pay their energy bills that got gutted by Elon Musk Doge. I'd love for Scott to go back and talk about if there are any farmers out there, how they gonna be impacted by these tariffs. Antoine, go back to my iPad. Let me say it again, y'all. The poverty rate in Kentucky is 16.1%. But in Scott Jennings' hometown of Dawson Springs, Kentucky, the poverty rate is 26.9%. National rate is just 12. So the poverty rate is more than double that in Dawson Springs. Here's some more information right here. Comparison to Kentucky. The poverty rate in Dawson Springs. Come on back to my iPad. Let's go. The poverty rate in Dawson Springs is more than 1.5 times the rate in Kentucky. Who's the largest demographic living in poverty in Scott Jennings, Dawson Springs? Females, 55 to 64. Followed by females, 35 to 44. Then females, 75 plus. Because see, Scott, he 47, y'all, so maybe he don't care because that ain't even in the, so he's like, oh yeah, we good. So the 45 to 54 people, they good. See what happens? See what happens when you go to the data? See, I really wish somebody on that panel last night was a little quick with the iPad. So I'm just letting y'all know what would happen. If Roe was on there and he said that bullshit, I would looked up, boom, Scott Jennings, hometown, Dawson Springs, boom, poverty rate. Scott, they talking about your broke ass town. We played the clip of the Congresswoman reciting how many people in each congressional district were going to lose Medicaid. But y'all, they don't care. See, this is why Bishop William Barber in the Poor People's Campaign, why they are trying to ignite poor folk in America, low income in America, the working class in America, to vote their economic interest. Because I don't care if you are white in Dawson Springs, Kentucky. I don't care if you are black in Albany, Georgia. I don't care if you are black in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. If you look at the poverty stats, they ain't doing your bidding there. Hell, Donald Trump just sat here and told his own girl, Sarah Huckabee, man, they ain't helping your ass with no tornadoes in Arkansas. St. Louis flattened because of tornadoes last week. Republican governor, 2 Republican U.S. senators, Josh Hawley, punk ass, the same one trashing FEMA relief for other states, begging for help in Missouri. And Donald Trump, I'm sorry, my orange ass is going to Mar-a-Lago where I'm hosting a dinner for 200 people who I'm not releasing their names who have given money to my coin. I don't give a damn about you peons. Matter of fact, the phrase, let them eat cake, shit. Donald Trump ain't even giving them a cupcake, a honey bun, a Twinkie. He don't give a damn about y'all. But the power of whiteness is what we're witnessing right now. So if the Senate passes this bill, all the rich folk are gonna be sitting here saying, oh yes, Donald, you the man, you done hooked us up. And all you broke ass people, like the folk in Dawson Springs, Kentucky, I sure hope y'all have a word or two for your favorite son, Scott Jennings, who done gone to the big time. He running in high cotton. Oh yeah, he ain't in the coal mines. He all dressed up and cute, and he doing meetings in the Oval Office and taking pictures, and Trump has endorsed his book. And your broke ass is gonna be homeless, foodless, fatherless, healthcare-less, hospital-less. I can throw any less on the end. That's what y'all gonna be in Dawson Springs and the whole state of Kentucky. Reese, going right ahead.
Well, you broke it down. But you know, white people have the best PR, honey, because for some reason, people don't realize that a good number of white people are actually poor, okay? This is not something that is only the so-called illegals or whatever kind of bullshit. Also, middle-aged white people are seeing their mortality rates go up because of things like drug abuse, because of different economic factors. And this administration ain't got shit for y'all. See, the thing about it is they want to protect whiteness, not necessarily white people. The individuals, they can come and go. It don't matter. You can switch these white Afrikaners out with the Appalachian whites. It don't make no difference to them. Their thing is white power and money. You combine those two and they got all that they need. The messed up part about this bill, though, is what this bill gives to the wealthy is lunch money for them. This isn't, I mean, it's more than lunch money for the rest of us, but for them, this is peanuts. This is in the noise. It would be an accounting error in their lives. And yet trillions of dollars are going to give those people who don't need a tax cuts, and the people who actually do need to continue. And actually have been deprived in places like Georgia and Florida and Texas from Medicaid expansion. The people who do need medical insurance, the people who do need food assistance, they're asked out. And so this is about life and death for people, including white people, actually disproportionately white people, because there are more of them volume-wise than there are of us. I know that people like to work in percentages, but the fact of the matter is there are more white people living in this country than any other race. And so they will be harmed very much by this, all in the name of white billionaire power. Congratulations, you played yourself.
Oh, absolutely. Again, Nola, the thing that cracks me up is when these folk, they always got something to say about black people. You haven't gotten this, you haven't gotten this. Going back to my iPad, look at this here. Economic well-being, this is spotlightonpoverty.org. Economic well-being in Kentucky, extreme poverty, 11% of the state. Food insecurity, 14.4%. Minimum wage, $7.25. Percent of individuals who are uninsured, 6.4%. Percent of jobs at a low wage, 24.3%. Percent of working families under 200% of the poverty line, 34.7%. Poverty rate, 16.3%. Unemployment rate is 4.3%. And you sit here and look at home foreclosure rate, 1.12%. Then you let percent of renters, 33%. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. It shows you these numbers. They broke. They broke, Nola. And I keep saying, black broke and white broke is the same. Your ass broke.
And Dr. King knew it too. You know, I had the pleasure the other morning, I should say, talking to Representative Cleo Fields from Louisiana, and also Representative Nakima Williams the other night at like 2:30 in the morning, as the Republicans tried to sneak past that big old ugly bill. And you know, Representative Williams, you know, she represents districts in Atlanta, her district in Atlanta, and Representative Fields, you know, represents some of the poorest, you know, districts in Louisiana. And the conversation that we had was just about that, acknowledging that, you know, acknowledging those poor people and how taking Medicaid away from said poor people will impact their lives. Representative Williams told this story about how she met this woman who literally survives on $6 a day. $6 a day. Scott Jennings is acting brand new. And if they do send him on this little tour, those people won't care about those numbers, because all he's going to do is tell people that, first of all, that the clip on CNN was fabricated, and you know the media. So that's the first movie gonna make. And then the second movie he's gonna make is to completely, you know, not even respond, you know, to data, if that was brought up to him in that context, is what I'm saying. And, you know, another element to this, Roland, is so many of these voters are absolutely voting against themselves, against their families, because, and let's just keep it real, a lot of their pastors are telling them in Sunday Mass that God sent Donald Trump here. The conditioning is so deep that no matter how much fact checking we do, it doesn't penetrate, because they've been so indoctrinated. And because of that indoctrination, they will absolutely keep voting for people who do not care about them. I absolutely would not be shocked if that man won the office that he's seeking. And even if there is evidence to say that I don't care about you, poor people, because first of all, I'm probably embarrassed from where I came from anyway. So I really don't care about y'all. They are so conditioned to believe that he didn't say the thing that he actually said.
Right.
Right. So, you know, this situation with the way that they tried to do this bill, we'll see what happens in the Senate. But there are a lot of people who are going to be impacted. Mark my words. And the ugly thing about it is the last thing I'll say, even when people start dying, and unfortunately that's what's going to happen, they still won't care.
And so again, go to my iPad, Antoine. So this is a piece story right here. New census data shows more is needed to cut poverty and improve incomes. This is in Kentucky. It says right here. And so when arrogant, smug ass individuals, like, look at this right here, pandemic era federal programs slash child poverty. Official child poverty in Kentucky went from 21.8% to 10.9%. In Kentucky. That's what happens when you make investments. But what then happens is when you sit here, look at this here. The story says more kids have health coverage this year. Then Kentucky's rate of uninsured plummeted for everyone after Medicaid expansion. Numbers don't lie. And so all of these data points, look at this here. It shows you Black Kentucky households, how there was a drop there. And then what does it say? Pandemic era support show us that cutting poverty is possible. And you know what they want to do, Greg? They want to slash poverty programs. They want to do all of that. That's all these cats are doing. We just need to understand what is happening here and the lies that they love telling.
Yes, it's very sobering to hear you go through those statistics. This whole segment, and then, as we just heard, Reese and Nola just walk us through the fact that it won't matter, that it doesn't matter, and it won't matter. It's one thing to be an open racist. It's quite another to believe, because as you just said, Nola, as you said, Dr. Haynes, because you have been thoroughly brainwashed in a cultural and ideological position that Black people are simply not human, or certainly not as good as you are. That is the Christian fascist view. And thank you for making that very keen and important distinction, Nola, between Catholicism more broadly, which is the original European form of Christianity, of course, and the extremist view. As is extremism is Islam, there's extremism in Judaism, and extremism, of course, in Christianity. We see the extremism in Judaism playing out partially in Israel right now. So that's going to block them from ever doing anything else. I'm thinking about 2 books that came out just before COVID. One by Dr. Jonathan Merzel entitled Dying of Whiteness, How the Politics of Racial Resentment is Killing America's Heartland. And you've mentioned this book before. The idea that voting against their political interests, their class interests, they would rather die. And we see, as a result of the policies that have been fomented by those owned by the billionaires who installed them in office, in part by weaponizing this propaganda, even as Elon Musk says he's not going to spend millions and millions more anymore because maybe there's a growing resistance. We see that because of those policy cuts, because of the cuts in schools and social services and resistance to the Affordable Care Act and expanding Medicaid, well, you see the increasing deaths among white people from gun violence, those falling life expectancies you mentioned, and the rising dropout rates and so many other things. They are literally, and this is a medical doctor, Dr. Metzel, he says they're dying of whiteness. Now, contrast that with Black Fatigue, Mary Frances Winter's book, which came out a few months later. Black Fatigue, how racism erodes the mind, body, and spirit. We are tired of trying to appeal to people based on our common humanity when they are looking at us like, it's not that I hate you, Black girl. It's not that I hate you, Black boy. It's just that you're a different species. And I look at you the way I might look at my pet, sometimes with sympathy, sometimes with celebration if you're my favorite rapper or basketball player, but always as something just a little different than I am. Those would be the liberal Afrikaners in South Africa. In fact, when Ramaphosa brought his cabinet there, he had some Afrikaners with him. I look at Ernie Els, the Big Easy, the golfer who tried to plead to his common whiteness with Donald Trump yesterday in the Oval Office. And I wonder, does Ernie Els look at Cyril Ramaphosa as being his equal? Or does he just say, I tolerate you and you're a nice species, but you're a little bit different than me? I would almost trend toward the latter. And this is where we're going with this. If you can't stop these maniacs from voting against their interests when they will simply say to you, I would rather be white and dead than human and alive, then Black Fatigue, it seems to me, and maybe even to Mary Frances Winters in her book suggests that we need to find who we can organize with, which is what Reverend Barber has been doing. We need to appeal to those who do have open ears. And the Scott Jenningses of the world, and the Junior Varsity Vances of the world, and the Tim Scotts of the world, and the 8 Negroes who voted for, Lord have mercy, the funniest thing about that I saw on social media about the new and then the so-called president of Florida A&M, I can't repeat here. Let's just say that somebody tweeted that blank sits on the highest of 7 hills, and you can kind of infer the rest in terms of drug abuse and what might be inferred from that. But the point is that those people all share one thing in common. It isn't race. It is a fealty to toady and kowtow and kiss ass and do whatever they can not to return to that coal mine, not to return to that cotton field, not to return to that job that they think is beneath them. And they will do anything to foment that. Let's start wasting our breath with Scott Jennings. If him and his constituents want to die of whiteness, so be it. We have Black Fatigue now, which means that should instill in us a determination to find those people who will build in our common humanity. And when we install policies that will help everybody, them hillbillies will be saying the N-word, but they'll do it with a new set of teeth, and we won't care one way or the other.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Dive into the magical world of Edwina's Bedtime Adventures by Ariel Williams. Join Edwina, the little hippo with a big imagination, as she drifts off to sleep and embarks on whimsical bedtime journeys. Whether she's saving the day as a brave firefighter, caring for patients as a nurse at Sunny Valley Hospital, or exploring the wonders of the jungle, Edwina's heartwarming tales will capture the imagination of young readers and spark endless bedtime giggles. This is an electronic book. You'll need an EPUB reader or PDF reader to enjoy this whimsical tale. Get your copy today at lulubooks.com or follow the link tree in profile to get your copy and let the adventure begin.
Gas Station Diaries by Adam King is a compelling collection of fictional stories drawn from the author's experiences working at a gas station during the tumultuous year of 2020. Set in the unassuming locale of Rainbow Land, the narrative unfolds in a place where time seems to stand still, yet unexpected drama and human encounters abound. This is an electronic book. You must upload an EPUB reader or a PDF reader to enjoy this book. Get your copy today at lulubooks.com and let the story unfold.
The Baker and the Handyman's Sweet Connection. In a quaint village nestled in a picturesque valley, there stood a small house in the shape of a mushroom. This whimsical home belonged to a young boy named Jamie, barely out of high school, who had a passion for baking. Inside, his cozy kitchen was always filled with the sweet aroma of cakes, cookies, and all sorts of delightful treats. What made his creation special was that each of his cakes was shaped like tiny mushrooms, a nod to his quirky home. Jamie's baking became the talk of the town. From birthdays to celebrations, everyone in the village adored his sweets.
Get your digital copy today at lulubooks.com and experience the adventure in EPUB or PDF format. Make sure you have a compatible reader to dive into this unforgettable journey. Don't miss out, unlock the secrets, and let the story begin.
Sable's Song, A Siren's Journey to Joy. Once upon a time, in a small, worn-out town in Middle America, there lived a little child named Sable. Worn into poverty, Sable's body was frail, so thin that you could see her bones, but her heart was filled with an exuberance that not even hunger could dull. Sable was awkward, with dark, deep-set eyes that sparkled with innocence and wonder. Despite being born a boy, Sable always knew she was different. Inside her lived a girl, bright and effervescent, waiting to bloom.
Get your digital copy today at lulubooks.com and experience the adventure in EPUB or PDF format. Make sure you have a compatible reader to dive into this unforgettable journey. Don't miss out, unlock the secrets, and let the story begin.
The Park of Secrets.
In the year 2060, near the heart of Florida, just a stone's throw from Disney World, stood a theme park unlike any other, a place known as the House of Secrets. It was a magical park, much like a state fair, filled with towering rides, carnival games, and parades that drew people from all over the world. But among the grand Ferris wheel and the colorful day parade, there was one attraction that outshined them all, the Parade Princess, a mesmerizing mermaid named Kenya. Kenya was a sight to behold. At 22 years old, fresh out of college, she had the kind of beauty that drew people to her like moths to a flame. Her brown skin glowed under the park lights, her hair a stunning mix of purple and pink that cascaded over her shoulders. Little pink hearts adorned her cheeks, and a ribbon of color stretched across her nose. But it wasn't just her beauty that made her special. Her eyes, big and almond-shaped, seemed to capture the hearts of everyone who saw.
Discover the magic of the Park of Secrets. Step into a world of wonder with the Park of Secrets, a heartwarming tale by Ariel Williams that will captivate your imagination. This enchanting story is now available exclusively on Lulu Books.
The Future, Daughters of Liberty, A New Dawn. In 2040, the United States was a fractured nation, still reeling from the fallout of Project 2025, the catastrophic policy that had allowed a resurgence of systemic oppression. The Deep South had seceded once more. forming the antebellum republic, where human trafficking, racial inequality, and gender oppression became tragically normalized. The Second Civil War erupted as the rest of the nation sought to free those trapped in this dystopian regime. After years of bloodshed, Kamala Harris had finally led the Union to victory, restoring a fragile sense of hope. But the battle scars ran deep, especially in places like Louisiana, where the remnants of a broken society still lingered.
Get your digital copy today at lulubooks.com and experience the adventure in EPUB or PDF format. Make sure you have a compatible reader to dive into this unforgettable journey. Don't miss out, unlock the secrets, and let the story begin.
A Dying Planet, The Last Harvest.
In the year 2060, Earth is a shadow of its former self, choked by pollution, endless concrete, and abandoned by nature. Only a small fishing village by the sea has managed to preserve the planet's last untouched forest. In this dying world, June and Win, two young girls and the last children in their village, cling to the remnants of hope and innocence. Win roams the forest, collecting the season's last harvest, while June sings songs that echo with a haunting beauty through the village.
Get your digital copy today at lulubooks.com and experience the adventure in EPUB or PDF format. Make sure you have a compatible reader to dive into this unforgettable journey. Don't miss out, unlock the secrets, and let the story begin.
I told you. What did I tell you? Didn't I tell you? 'Cause I told you. And when did I tell you? A long time ago. And what did I say will happen when I told you? Exactly what just happened.